Welcome to the Ignited Recovery Podcast, a new way forward for anyone looking for answers but feeling left out. If you've been searching for empowerment, triumph, and purpose, you've found them right here. You won't hear the same solutions, and you're not going to have any excuses to fall back on, because Ignited Recovery allows heroes to rise and become their best selves. I'm Dr. Adi Jaffe, and I can't wait to be your guide on this journey. Are you ready to become an ignited hero? All right, so let's talk about concept number one, and that is embracing uncertainty. Let's face it, we all have to make decisions that all day, every day. What am I going to wear? What way am I going to take to work? What am I going to listen to while I work out? What workout am I going to be doing? What coffee blend to buy for my home? We're really serious about coffee here at the house. So, that's actually a really important decision. But those are decisions that happen all the time. So for most of us, even though it can be a little stressful, we've come up with ways to deal with those. But every once in a while, decisions come up that we're not used to, decisions that don't happen to us on a regular basis. Like, should I quit my job and apply for a new one that came up? Do I want to move houses, or do I want to even move to a different state, a different country? Do I want to start a relationship or end a relationship? Do I want to do something about my drinking or my porn use, right? Any of those kinds of things. These are big decisions. And a lot of times, I don't know if you can relate to this, but a lot of times, they can be really stressful when these big decisions that are not habitual for us come up. Because what do you start doing? You start thinking, what if I make the wrong choice, right? What if I choose to move and it's like the worst thing that's ever happened? I make no friends. Everybody hates me in the new town. I lose touch with all the people that I know here already, and my life just falls apart because of it. Or what if I leave this job for a new job, but all the things I don't like about this job are already there at the new job, and I'm alone because I don't know any colleagues, and I feel isolated, and I made the worst choice ever, right? You get flooded, I don't know about you, but I get flooded sometimes with these fears of what if I make the wrong choice? Now, we know from psychology that having some anxiety, some stress about the decisions you make is a good thing, right? That's part of the reason for motivation, part of the reason for keeping us in momentum around making these choices in life. Because if you don't care about it at all, you have no anxiety, you have no stress around it, and then the decision probably doesn't matter all that much. Important decisions require some level of anxiety, but the more and more anxiety you have around it, and that's different for different tasks, it can become overwhelming and actually make it really, really hard to make the decision itself. Can you relate? Yeah, right. We've all had decisions in life that are difficult. They're difficult to make, and there's no real way around it. But if you think about it, poker players have to do this all the time because that's kind of what they're living for, right? They're living for these big decisions. Am I going to take another card? Am I going to bet more money, etc., etc.? Now, the win, you could argue, actually comes up when you make those decisions using the best tactics. But the thing is, you don't always have all the information. That's exactly the way it is in life. Like, if I'm going to go look for another job, I don't know exactly what that life is going to be like. I don't know exactly what is there in work. There's uncertainty. There's some built-in lack of knowledge that I have around that decision. And we have to get comfortable with it. But not only that, we can actually embrace this idea, because we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but everything in life actually has uncertainty. And while you may want to claim, or you may want to think, that if you just do enough research, analyze the data enough, ask enough people at this new position, at this new company, if they like working there, that maybe you'll be able to make the perfect decision. In reality, there are factors that you have no idea that you even need to explore. And so the key to making good decisions in life is to embrace that uncertainty and not let the unknown completely overwhelm you. Because the thing is, if you do, you'll never do anything that's worthwhile. You'll never take actual risks that can pay off incredibly well. So put the skills you have to work. Learn what you can about the decision. Make the best decision you can based on skill, and then move forward with whatever you felt is appropriate, learning to trust yourself and letting everything else that's going to play out as it does. That'll help you move forward. So that's concept number one. Concept number two is moving away from results-oriented attitude. Annie introduces this concept of resulting in the book, and I think that's a worthwhile concept to go over a little bit. And that is, we all have made decisions that have worked out in our favor or against us. Sometimes you may weigh the success of a decision based on what came out of it, the outcome. So we already talked about embracing uncertainty. Let's not fool ourselves by thinking that my decision was the only factor important in the outcome. This is hardly ever true in life. And the problem is that if you start believing that every decision you made that resulted in success is the right one, you can also discount the skill, the effort, and the other strengths that you've undergone to make that decision in the first place, right? Like, there may be a feeling of loss sometimes. It may feel like you didn't win in a specific decision, but if you only consider successes as things that you're able to learn from, you're going to end up discounting a lot of the learning that is absolutely present there in quote unquote less successful results. One of the examples, for instance, is like, if you end a relationship that is unhealthy, it's a good idea to get out of that relationship, but it's not going to feel good necessarily when you get out of it. Don't discount the power of that decision and the strength that it took to make that leap. You have to be able to understand that, let's say, even if you start a business, if any of you have ever started a business, there are dozens of decisions you have to make daily in a new business. If you start believing that every time something good happens, all you have to do is track back the decision that led to that positive outcome, you end up missing a lot of lessons along the way. Some of us are really, really good at focusing on everything and not taking blame only for failures and kind of giving other people credit for successes, but really understanding the entire picture, right? Of, okay, I have responsibility in everything I do because the decisions I make and the skills I bring to it are part of the equation. But there are other factors that are important. And so what's important for me to do is to really be able to measure the work that I did and take responsibility for the action that I took, learn what I can from the outcomes that are relevant to the decisions I made, adjust, and then move forward, right? Stop believing that only the actions that led to success are the actions you need to learn from. Concept number 3 is about going all in. I like this idea. I'm going to start trying to implement it in my own life. But imagine what happened if when you were making big decisions in your life, you would have to kind of gamble on them. Like, what if you literally had to put $100 on this next decision working out? Whether that is what clothes you're going to wear, what you're going to eat for lunch today, or bigger decisions like we talked about earlier. This is a really important concept because I think a lot of us go into this fairy tale land about figuring out how we would like things to work out and then buying into that being the outcome of the decision. So like, I would like to move, rent, or buying a home is a lot cheaper in this other place. We will make all the best friends. We will have an incredible time. My kids will have 3 acres to run around in and life will be amazing. And that is the fantasy that I built up, let's say, around this moving kind of decision. But I haven't really understood everything that I'm putting on the line. Well, what if I had to gamble $10,000 on this moving decision being the right one, on me being happier, on my family being happier around this move? Once you start having skin in the game and there's actually a potential to lose something, you may start making different choices. Because in the abstract, we can finagle and kind of pretzel our reality into anything you want. I've learned this through my own work, So for instance, like we have the Ignited Recovery course and there's a free online workshop for it, which is great. But one of the things that I learned is that when people aren't invested in the work that they're doing, they get so much less out of it. So a lot of people, like thousands of people a month, watch the free online workshop, and some people like it a lot and some people don't, and they email us about that and talk to us about that, and that's great, and I'll have a link to it down here. But what I noticed is every once in a while people ask if they can get a scholarship, and we used to give them. So I've given about 5 or 6 scholarships to the program to date. So it took a lot for people to actually get that, but they would ask, they would email, I talked to them on the phone, and they seemed really, really committed. And so, like in one of these conversations, I talked to this woman for an hour and a half. She had a meth problem. She had no money. Initially, she was kind of upset that the program even costs money, which is always weird to me because I don't really understand how people expect me to survive and support my family if I did everything I want to do for free. But in the end, through the conversation, she sounded really committed. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to create a free account for you. And I just want to hear how it's going. And you just have to communicate with me. Went home, created a new account, free, sent her the email about it. She never even signed up. And I got to tell you, I've tried this 5 times and not a single one of the people who got it for free ever even signed up. Why? Because if you don't have any skin in the game, if you're not betting on yourself, if the decision is not costing you something, you're not invested. And therefore you won't have the motivation and the drive to see it through. So next time you have to make a big decision, imagine you have to make a bet on that decision giving you the best results. Would you still keep the same decision or not? Number 4 is be accountable to other people. A lot of the people that I talk to in my line of work want to do things on their own. And that's great. But look, we don't make decisions on our own. We make decisions in the context of everybody around us, our family, our friends, our loved ones, everybody, the culture we live in, all these sorts of things. And because we don't make decisions in a vacuum, it's important to have people around you that support you. Now, what I mean by support you is not people who always agree with you. That's not support. People who will be honest with you, whose opinions might vary from yours, but who you can trust and who are positive and have your best interest at heart. That's what I mean. And once you find that tribe, that group of people, that network, those are the people you need to be accountable for. Now, in the context of addiction, everybody knows like AA, as, Alcoholics Anonymous or one of those groups. But there are other like Smart Recovery or SOS or LifeRing. There are other groups that people can participate in. Ignited Recovery, which we'll have a link to, is another one of those groups that you can be part of. Joining a group for support is important and can really make your decisions better, especially if you feel comfortable enough with that group to consult with them. Now, if you really did the work and the group is not somebody who's just going to say yes to everything you suggest, that group and the people can give you feedback and maybe, especially if you sought out people with different opinions than yours, challenge your decisions to make you think about the outcome. So this is different than betting on your outcome, but it has to do with, oh, I never thought about it that way. Now that you bring up this point, I need to support my decision or understand that my decision actually didn't foresee this factor that somebody just brought up, and I need to take that into consideration. Like if I take that moving analogy back, somebody bringing up, hey, yeah, the house looks great and you guys will have more space, but you and Sophie are really, really big on healthy eating. And in that environment, healthy eating is going to be really difficult because the kind of places you guys go eat at or the places you buy your food from are not available there. What is that going to do? Oh, I didn't think about that. That's something both Sophie and I would need to give some thought to. Now, that doesn't mean the decision will change, right? But if you have people that you're accountable to and you can honestly share with, who can challenge your decision making, you will make better decisions in the long run. And that has been shown over and over in research. Last but not least is a crucial tip that goes a little bit back to the first piece that we talked about uncertainty. But know that you cannot predict the future. You can't, ever. Now, for some of you right now, you can already feel the anxiety building up just by me bringing this up. For others, and I put myself in this category, I'm excited about the fact that I can't predict the future. That's part of what brings interest and joy and happiness to my life, is a constant variability and me not knowing exactly what's going to end up happening. But whether you like it or not, realize that you don't have control over the universe, other people, or what is going to happen tomorrow, from weather to financial markets to job situations, and just literally anything. All you have control over is the decisions that you make. So what is great, if you can embrace this perspective, is you get to make a decision understanding that you are not totally responsible for its outcome. You get to make a decision, know that it has numerous potential outcomes, and that not any of them are really inevitable. There's not a specific way that you're going to move forward that will make the endpoint you want be the most likely to happen. And if you can release that tension, release the pressure, right? Imagine somebody going to graduate school or to university and having, the future outcome, I want to be a physician, I want to be a doctor. When you make that decision in junior year in high school, you're about 12, 13, 14 years removed from actually being a physician if everything works best. Don't start stressing out about whether or not all the other pieces will fall into place. Make the best decision you can at every moment. Watch for life. Adjust if you need to. Let go of your expectations and see what the future can bring. In life, each of you are dealing with struggles right now. Struggles that maybe nobody knows, struggles that maybe you've talked to other people in your support network. When you look at these struggles, whether they're addiction, mental health related, or otherwise, I want you to remember that all you can do is bring to bear the best information you have right now. Read what you need to. Consult with the people around you, especially people who will challenge you. Think about it deliberately, understanding that you have to let go of the outcome. Make the best decision that you can, given the information you have. Watch for the result, adjust, and move forward. People are so afraid of losing. And by losing, I mean having any negative impact on their life, that they end up not making no decisions at all. I just talked to a couple today where one partner has found so much discontent in life that they actually essentially explicitly gave up on trying to make decisions that will make them happy, because maybe happiness is written off for them. And so what they've decided is to come to this middle gray area where they're not happy, but they're not completely miserable, and to just live in that space. Some of you might be able to identify with that right now, but let me urge you to think about it a different way. If you do the work, if you get the right support and you put the right tools in place, the next decision might start bringing some joy, some happiness, some anxiety relief, some stress relief that you never even thought was possible. And if you get to do that step by step, moment by moment, 1% improvement, 2% improvements in your life, in your overall general level of happiness with life, imagine what kind of results you can have long term. I hope this was useful for you. Our goal here at Ignited is to help you create a better life, make a life that you are more and more satisfied with. We'll have a link to that free workshop online. Whether it's what we do or what somebody else does, start making bets on yourself. Start getting some skin in the game, putting the support network that you need to in place so you can make decisions to make your life happier, more ignited, and inspired. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Ignited Heroes Recovery Podcast. I really hope you found the information here useful and that we'll see you back here next week. And look, I want to make sure that this podcast is the most useful it can be for you, so please let me know by emailing info@ignited.com if there are any specific topics or questions you'd like to have addressed. As usual, if you like this episode, I would love for you to leave us a 5-star review and rating. Thanks, and see you next week.